Back Pocket Video Game Awards for excellence in video games that came out in 2022, as voted on by us, the host of the Back Pocket 2022 Video Game Awards for excellence in video games that came out in 2022. I'm Nick.
I'm Steph.
I'm Gus.
I'm Peter.
And we are here to do the penultimate episode. Tomorrow, Game of the Year. Fighting words. Back Pocket's Game of the Year. Today,
List fight!
No fight. This is, you have your list.
this is a
I love a list
celebration.
fight.
Everyone
This
has their
is-
own list, so it's fine.
This is list share.
This
Let's share.
is
Okay.
Democracy Manifest.
Yeah, so this is, we all go through our personal top 10 games of the year.
Get your hands off my top 10 list! Good.
We're going to go through our personal top 10s
Yes.
in a day of celebration before tomorrow when we hack
Just
each
pain.
other's very
a big
subjective
list.
opinions.
It's a
are.
big shit list.
Yeah. Okay. Peter.
Yeah.
I want you to start us off.
I'm going to start us off.
Your number 10 game of 2022.
My number 10 game of 2022 was Destiny 2 The Witch Queen. Destiny 2, always fun to play. The Witch Queen, the most solid expansion from a storytelling gameplay experience. I think back on the campaign and I can remember missions, and I can't say that about Destiny in any other context. So The Witch Queen was a success.
Good stuff. Gus.
My number 10 was Rollerdrome. I came to this late. I didn't play it when it dropped, and so I only picked it up in the last couple of weeks, and I can see what you're all getting on about. It is super...
We're getting on.
You're
about
getting
things.
on about that game.
on.
God, it looks good. God, it plays well, and it sounds fucking awesome. The soundtrack
Yeah.
was banging. I kind of missed that. I reckon it'd be higher on my list if I'd put more time into it.
Yep.
I've kind of done the first 8 arenas and that kind of thing, and I like that it kept showing you more as you go. But yeah, super stylish, and I love that there's almost a little single-player narrative happening in between all the missions. I did not expect that. So
Yeah, I wish I had place for it on my list. It didn't quite make it, but I really love that game.
yeah, a lot of people did.
And a
But,
unique idea. Like
yeah.
a mix up of a few different things that totally works.
Better than Roller Champions.
My number 10 is Mother is Dead in brackets lol.
Not this year.
Yep.
What was this year?
I know. I think a big part of it is that I hyped it up so much in my mind that it's like super memorable for me.
Yeah.
And
That's
also
fair.
I think when it came out, I was like not overwhelmed by how good it was, obviously. But now that I'm at the end of the year, nothing else really
Sticks in your
Yeah.
mind like that.
sticks in my mind. And so when I think back about what it was doing mechanically and the mystery of the story, there was some like weird, unnecessary body harm stuff in there that I don't think really served the story in a way that was useful.
bike?
But it had a bizarre sort of twist at the end. I liked the setting, even though it didn't feel like it served the story. I don't know. It had a lot of parts that weren't
Yeah.
cohesive, but those parts were really impactful.
It wasn't the sum of its parts, but yeah. And what language was it in again?
I believe it was in Italian.
Yeah.
We wrote a song about it. We didn't write it.
My number 10 game is Pentiment.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Way down the list.
Yeah, it's mainly down there because I'm not done with it yet.
Yeah.
And so I just don't know how it's resolving, and I feel like it's one of those ones that's important to resolve well. I feel
Yes.
like.
Yeah, fair.
But yeah, adore kind of everything about it. It's slow and it's compelling for me. Fucking gorgeous. The writing's really fun. I love what it does with text in terms of like showing how people like emphasis on words and
Yeah.
Yeah.
and they're just how it uses fonts. I don't really
This-
think about
Yeah.
fonts in video games
The
that much.
sound design is cool.
It's really good.
The way that like your character will go to say something or start to think something and not say it, and then it'll scroll out a word and
Yeah.
choose a different word
Yeah,
in instead and stuff.
like there's a scene where everyone is all the monks and priests and stuff are having dinner, and then they slowly all become quiet, and one starts shouting, and when he's shouting, little ink blots appear around the words that he's shouting, and you
Yeah.
just know
He's
you just
spitting.
know he's getting angry
Yeah.
just because of that. Yeah, it's really brilliant. And Andreas is probably my character of the year.
yeah.
Yeah,
Andreas number
fucks.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Eat
yeah.
shit, Andreas.
Eat shit, Andreas. My number 2 game,
Number 9.
number 9 game, 2 in the sequence that I'm counting down from
Well played. Well saved.
is The Quarry.
Oh
Yeah, which I think is like
wow.
one of the better Supermassive games. Probably not the best, but it's up there in terms of like how batshit everything gets and how
Yeah.
quickly things can fall apart, and compared to the little pictures, the dark
Pictures.
Dark
Little Hope.
Pictures, Little Hope, compared to the Dark Pictures anthology ones, like
Yep.
a broader story, a bigger story, which
Yeah.
I like when they do the bigger games. And I think mainly it was that we played it together. The experience of playing it was
Did we?
like, yeah, you were just shit faced the whole time. Best spray. Best spray is probably one of my gaming moments of the year, so it had to be on my
Oh
list.
my god!
That
I
was
was
that
like,
Yeah, you were drunk
I was
too.
you
You were
as you were
drunk too.
as you were
Pretty
talking.
much.
I was
I
like,
remember.
did I play this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you were talking about all of us playing it together, and I'm like, oh, must have been like a scaredy boys thing. How nice for you.
Oh, you were there.
You were there.
We
I
were
was
there.
there.
We even replayed the last hour.
Yeah.
The tarot cards. Oh my
I was about to
god!
say we weren't too functional alcoholics. But they were very
They were
functional.
not
The old
functional.
lady in the big spear that we're like, move.
Yeah. Amazing.
There was some
Yeah,
great
cool.
memories.
Yeah.
Fun.
Yeah.
Fun
Yeah.
times.
Yeah.
Cool.
Gus.
My number 9 is Ghostwire Tokyo. I feel like I've championed that game a few times, and I really loved what it was going for. I don't think it totally stuck the landing. The story was pretty crap, but the setting and the enemy design and the moment-to-moment combat, I really clicked with, even though it was repetitive. It's kind of like, it felt a bit like Doom, the new Doom. It's like, it just felt fun every time you had to have a little arena engagement with this cool new type of combat. And I love the kind of Japanese folklore design behind the spirits and the enemies. It was all that like Japanese horror mixed with kind of fantasy combat. I thought it was really unique, and I mentioned that I want to get back into it and finish it because I never have.
Yeah.
But it was a really good game, and no one else wants to touch it.
Wish
sure
it
you
grabbed
finished
me.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're both pretty sure you finished that game maybe twice. Steph.
Look, here's the thing. I didn't play enough games this year that were released this year. I think a lot of the games that I bring to Back Pocket are like weird shit I found on Steam that were released a couple of years ago. And I didn't really think that would be a problem until I went to make this list and was like,
Yeah.
oh shit. So my next game is Overwatch 2, which I don't think really deserves to be on the list. But because I didn't play much of the first Overwatch, it feels like
That's
my
your Overwatch
first
experience.
foray into
Yeah,
Overwatch.
yeah.
And
Which is fair, because it's a
and-
brilliant game
and it's
that
fucking
is
fun.
boring in 2 weeks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And every time I jump into it, I really have a good time. And even though I know that it's like, it hasn't brought enough to warrant a sequel that is exciting for people to be excited about, it was exciting for me. So,
Overwatch was many people's game of the year when it came out.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
totally fair.
Deservedly
Neon White is my number 9. Neon White really loved me some speedrunning, card-based combat,
Dating sim.
demon dating action game. Yeah, love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love
Knew what it
Nice.
was doing and just stuck to its guns. I mean, this is what I do well.
Totally, yeah. I realize I'm not a speedrunner, but I'm certainly a score chaser in the right kind of game. And
Yeah.
there's another game on my list that scratch that as well. Of just trying to perfect a run. Maybe
dang-
not a score chaser. Perfecting a run is something
Yeah.
that I enjoy.
It dangled the
doing,
carrot
so.
of letting you learn the course, letting you get pretty good at it, and then choosing if you wanted to master or not. It wasn't a game that sort of demanded that you perfect it.
Yeah,
to
you
move
could bounce.
on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there were multiple levels of various degrees of how you could finish this.
Yeah.
And
They were
yeah.
all satisfying. It just you
Yeah,
could
I
choose
still
which
have a
one.
couple of levels left
Yeah.
to sort of finish, but
True, of course, of the racing missions in Sonic Frontiers, which is why it will be on your list later as well.
that is the one. I
That's
was
the other
talking
one you were referencing. Yeah, okay. Yeah, interesting.
about. Number 8 or 3 in your mind, Pete?
Number 8.3 is Escape Academy,
Yeah.
which was a delightful escape room game with a story wrapper. For some reason this year I got into escape room video games. I
but
played
before that came out. You were like
before that came
really
out.
hungry for an escape room game.
That's
Yeah.
right. You played all
played-
the sort of really realistic.
Limits Escape Rooms
There it was.
on Steam, and some other pack as well that I downloaded and played.
just don't vibe with escape room games at all.
Yeah,
This one
I
was
don't know.
polished though.
There's something
one was
I
fun.
I enjoy them, but this one was I love that Escape Academy existed because it added some legitimacy to the fact that I was playing escape room video games.
Sure, right.
Gave it
Where-
a school.
Yeah. It gave it a school. It gave it like a look, where all the other ones were kind of made in an engine with assets, so they 3D assets they just download, and they're like, well, we found cups and numbers post-it, so we put post-its on cups and that's
Yeah.
what you're looking at.
I think
As
a lot
opposed to
of them were
really
born out of
designed-
lockdown. I think when escape rooms were like, how can we keep our business running?
Yeah.
And
Oh, totally.
and they were like,
And
we
make what you
we
know.
can create
Look around a
digital,
room and go,
escape
well, I'm in
rooms.
lockdown.
Weren't the designers escape room people who learned how to play and make a video game?
I believe that is the
believe-
case. Yeah, so Escape Academy kind of legitimized my affection for escape rooms this year.
How exciting.
Yeah.
There's DLC coming as well.
Yeah.
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 Cool. More rooms. My number 8.
Mhm.
Midnight Fight Express.
Oh!
For all the things I didn't like about Sifu, I loved about Midnight Fight
Oh,
Express.
this was the platformer,
No,
like top-down platformer?
isometric
yeah.
brawler. That was like super influenced by sort of action scenes from movies, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
Little
right.
silly plot. Dude gets sort of a sleeper agent vibe with the droney and all that kind of stuff.
Wait, was this the one where you're fighting on platforms that are moving?
You're on a train at one point. That is moving.
No, you're thinking of the... I know the one.
Okay.
She's thinking of something else.
No, this is very much like hard-boiled. Like
Yeah.
you have these little sort of scenarios. It's quite repetitive, but it was always satisfying. It was like just linking combos and counters and feeling like a bit of a badass the whole way through. And then the game would just suddenly be like, "You're all on trains now," or "You're in there's a jet ski shootout and stuff." And I love the way that it rewarded you for being creative with the way you fought and using objects and stringing your fight together. And it would always reward you with not so much a fail, but you get a letter score and a bunch of currency to spend on cosmetics to look like you could wear a singlet and no shoes, a la Bruce Willis, or you could you could live out your action movie fantasies, which is what I wanted from it. And I think it was just like one, maybe two developers, but a single vision. So props to them because it's a great game. And yeah, it's heaps of fun. And the training method mode where you just get swarmed by nude men. they're
That's your favorite kind of wave mode.
They're mannequins that their color is the flesh tone that you are, so it's meant to be that they're just punching dummies, but it looks very confronting when they swarm you. So
Oh, nice.
yeah. Midnight Fight
Okay.
Express.
Did you get swarmed by nude men in your 8th favorite game of the year that came out this year?
No, but I got swarmed by ghosts.
That counts. They used to be men, some of them.
I chose Ghostbusters because I feel like of all the horror games that I've played, there are a lot of them that are kind of iterations on each other, but this felt like the culmination of a lot of good ideas in probably the most involved form. And that is the kind of, Dead by Daylight ghost hunting kind of mechanic where there's like 1 against 4 or 5. There was prop night aspects to it where you, as the ghost, could possess objects and things, but obviously with a Ghostbuster skin on it, which was really cool. And Dan Aykroyd, and it had this kind of more involved leveling process for your character, which made it really cool. And it was more fun to be the ghost, I think. This is the first game that I played of all of those where I actually was like successful and good at playing the ghost. I
Yeah,
feel like
right.
every other time I played like those kinds of games,
The bad
I'm
guy.
really enjoying being part of the team and stuff, but when I'm the bad guy, I just suck.
Yeah.
But this was like I was owning everyone when I was the bad guy.
And isn't it fascinating for all those mechanics to have come from other games through the works, and then finally that comes to a point where they go, and the best IP that would be for all of these?
Yeah.
Ghostbusters. And you're like, oh yeah, it usually goes the other way.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Ghostbusters comes out and everyone takes something from it. This was like, an amalgamation of all these
totally.
asymmetrical
Yeah.
hunting shooters, and it's like Ghostbusters.
It just felt like a lot of them just had kind of one idea, and this had quite a few different ideas going on, and quite a long progression system as well to kind of level up and get new abilities, particularly as the ghost, but also to unlock new gadgets as a Ghostbuster. So that it was a lot more longevity to it, I think. And yeah, it was just really fun, and I laughed so much playing that game that my abs were sore the next day. They are there just under the squishy stuff.
Dan
and they
Aykroyd
were-
saw
and they
all
were
those
in
good
pain.
ideas. He took them all.
Yep.
He distilled them into a simple, purest form.
Put it in a skull.
Put it in a skull.
On the skull. God, it's crazy. This is one of the weirdest things.
He's the
that
weird
makes.
man.
He's a weird man. I'll tell you who else is a weird man. No, I had no fancy transition. Sifu is my number 8. I don't want to
Boo.
relitigate this against you fucks. It's a great game. Really enjoyed it. It was the game that clicked for me, probably gameplay-wise, the most this year. Of just like, I got in a flow state that you dream about.
Zen.
Oh,
Do you think that whether or not you stream a game
I said this yesterday.
Yeah,
I said
totally.
that, like,
has an
He needs
impact?
an audience.
I need an
to
audience
succeed.
cheering me on that completely made me just go, fuck yes, I am here to impress you with how bad I'm going to beat up this sexy fireman.
Really quick side note, as Steph said with Martha is Dead, is there also a thing about any game we completed, be it good to average, completing a game gives you this sort of version of, I kind of want to put that on my list. Not so much as I've been there, done that, but it does definitely you say,
Well,
I've
I think
seen everything there.
inherently, by completing it, I have considered it worthy of completion.
I was
That's
just,
good.
I went on that whole track. I was just like, oh yeah. And then I was like, oh wait, but I haven't been compelled to complete games for a reason.
That'd be it.
Yeah.
it.
We worked backwards, forward, and then we put Ghostbusters on
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, loved Sifu. Loved it so much. Peter, number 7.
My number 7 is Weird West. Speaking of games played on stream, I think I was compelled to play that because I was playing on stream and because we did it for Game Club. And I'm glad I did, because I would have put it down after the first couple of characters. But I think it really kind of stuck the landing that it set up for itself. And I don't think it wasn't world changing, but it was definitely the 7th best landing of a game this year. Yeah, not much more to say about it. It's just it was a solid Western experience, and it was nice to play something that felt different and had
Yeah.
a lot of ideas in it, a lot of systems in it. and
Totally.
they all gelled quite well together.
Cool. My number 7, again, the opposite of that, Vampire Survivors. I don't know what more to say about this game other than it's just incredibly Moorish, and it went for one idea and it did it very well, and there's DLC coming, apparently, and people love it, and it is such a good time waster. I put a lot of hours into it, and it could only get so far up the list based on how it looks, phoned in graphics, etc.
Phoned in.
But it's still a great game, and it's like $2. So, I mean, if we're doing a value for quality thing,
Yeah,
it
yeah,
should be higher.
Totally,
Yeah.
yeah.
But it's a great game.
$2, 80 hours. That's pretty
yeah.
good value.
The next one on my list is Hooked on You, the Dead by Daylight dating sim.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We played a lot of dating sims together.
We have.
And none of them since Dream Daddies has really stood out in my mind quite so much as this
Captured
one.
the magic.
Yeah, and it's like it was just that right amount of like weird and intriguing. Weirdly using a property from a completely different franchise in a very creative way. We didn't get the romantic / sexual payoff that we were hoping for.
Did not.
But
We
the
got
fact that I know it's
rejected.
there has like redeemed the game in my mind, because it just tells me that it's like you can't just get served everything on a platter. You have to work for it.
Yep. What did we do wrong? I think we told her to clean her house or something.
There was
Oh
one...
no, we didn't invest. I think we didn't say we wanted to have a family with her.
That's right. That was the
And that was
family
my
thing.
that was my fault.
Yeah.
Because
Let's
I
bump
was
those
like,
kids out.
Isn't she a murderer?
Yeah, but
Oh.
Okay, no,
they're,
but
they're all
your logic-
they're
Come
multi-layered.
on.
They're
Come on.
multi-layered.
Are you bringing that? Come on.
Profiling them.
100% in this room, there is someone in our family tree that has killed someone with an act of murder and not just war. It has definitely happened, but they managed to have a kid, and that's why we're here. Think about that. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, I really liked it. I thought it was really funny, but like they really had us, hooked with the mystery that they wove into the story and just the bizarreness of the characters and
Agreed.
the whole scenario. I thought it was
Mystery of
great.
the Ocean.
Yeah, fun. My number 6?
7.
7? 10, 9, 8, 7. Yeah, you're right. Patrick's Parabox.
Oh, yeah, that looked cool.
Nice.
This to me, so this is that puzzle game where you just play as a box, and then you need to put that box in another box, and it's boxes all the way down.
Yeah.
And what it does with boxes is limitless. It's a crime not more people play this game. This is the Witness level ingenuity of a simple puzzle mechanic. Because it didn't have the sort of gorgeousness of the Witness or the sort of high concept intellectual
thoughtful.
like the Witness really popped off and came from a developer that we all love because of Braid, but it's that level of I thought you ran out of things to do with a box, but
Yeah.
it turns out no, you have figured out more box related puzzles for me to do, and I just loved it.
Mm.
It
Yeah,
sat on a
amazing.
screen for weeks, and I would just occasionally figure out how to solve a puzzle. I've got like my playtime is like 90 hours.
I remember watching the footage of it when you talked about it on Back Pocket, and it was kind of hypnotizing watching the puzzles play out and seeing the solutions and going, that's just an incredible concept to
Yeah.
worlds within worlds kind of
Yeah,
vibes.
it's great. It's really, really great. If you're looking for a puzzle game to like just noodle away at for a year, like that, I cannot recommend it.
Yeah.
Nice.
Number 6.
Yeah.
Pick up 6.
Madison. Madison is
Madison?
Horror.
Madison Horror. Madison
Camera?
House. Madison
Time travel?
camera.
Clock
oh,
stuff. Clock
yeah,
stuff.
Clock stuff. Definitely clock stuff.
Okay.
Time travel.
We should do all of them like this.
Time travel. No.
It wasn't.
It was just
yeah.
dimensional
Okay,
weirdness.
Monster was a
Story
regular
took
lady?
place over a fair bit of time. Monster was in two parts. There was the blue dude. Can't remember his name. Something blue. Mr.
Tobias.
Mr. Blue Eyes or something. I don't fucking know. It was Nick.
It's me.
Mickey
and,
Blue Eyes.
and then there was your possessed grandmother or something. Didn't quite make sense of the story at the end of it, but it
finished
was. I did finish it, and it was the scariest gaming experience I've had this year.
Yeah, cool.
I played St. Dinfna as well, the
yeah.
St. Dinfna Hotel.
St. Dimphna.
Hotel.
That's right.
Something.
It had something else. in
There was something else at the front.
Yeah.
And having just played Callisto Protocol, which is obviously more action based, but tries to be a horror game, and I don't think succeeds. Yeah, Madison was like proper creepy, not brilliant, but really nailed its tone, and was always. There are a couple times that it was frustrating, but for the most part, it was really fun in the puzzle of where do I go in this house? I don't want to walk into the next room, but I have to.
Yep.
And it just, it captured that thing that people love about those single player horror experiences.
amnesias and all that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Of being like, oh, I can see maybe most of the puzzle and I just need to find the next little bit, but I don't want to look for it.
Only I can move this forward.
Yeah.
I have to actively take agency and move.
yeah.
Cool.
It's a terrifying decision to
Yeah.
have to take that agency.
Yeah,
So,
cool.
Yeah, loved it.
Gus.
Nice. Number 6 for me, Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope. Mario? Rabbids?
Yeah.
Sparks?
Yeah. Yeah.
A little bit of hope.
A little bit.
Mm,
Yeah.
mhm.
No, we've spoken a bit about it already, but yeah, great sequel. And in a world where it's getting tough to make sequels that can live up to the hype of the first one and improve, I think this did a great job of improving the core mechanic, which was that move anywhere around the map. I was really not anxious, but I in seeing it, I still never quite wrapped my head around it until I got to play it, which I think is sometimes sort of evident of a cool new design aspect to go. I'm watching gameplay trailers. This doesn't look as fun as the grid-based XCOM style, which I really liked in the first game. And the second I started doing it, I was like, nope, this makes perfect sense. This opens it up. There was... it changes the way the game feels to play, so I don't feel like I'm just going through 50 new levels that are designed. I'm playing a different game entirely, but there is the familiarity. Well, there's a lot of familiarity. These are Mario characters and the Rabbids, and all the little things they decided to add mostly all landed for me. And it will be a game I go back to play a lot more of because, I like the Rabbids. I think it is just such a weird combination that doesn't deserve to work as well as it does, but it's a lot of fun. And yeah, Mario Peach, Rabbid Peach is still hilarious.
Yeah.
And Rosalina Fox.
And
Rosalina Fox.
Always remember.
But now they have voices, so they say, Selfie! And I fuck! They don't say that.
Jesus Christ. Steph, number 6.
Number 6 for me is Inside the Backrooms. I know.
What?
For a game.
Now, what's that game about?
Yeah, I know. I did such a bad job of trying to explain it, but for a game that was based on a 4chan meme, it is the most terrifying thing I've played, in a long time. And I played a lot of horror games. I played a lot of janky horror games, but this one was just, it was just designed in such a clever way that, especially using proximity chat, which a lot of those games do rely on, monsters are triggered by the sounds that you're making and the communication that you have with your team. It used that mechanic really well. the ramping of intensity was really incredible. I'm so desperate to go because we managed to get through the first stage at the end of a long stream, Reese and I, and it was a hard slog, but we got there, and my whole body was like this by the end of it. My heart felt like it was gonna just stop functioning. And I'm so desperate to go back, but I'm also just like, can my body take it? Like, I honestly don't know. So it was very effective, and I was impressed.
And kind of like Ghostbusters, these games are proving grounds for new things or new styles of gameplay that will potentially evolve into a new style or a new series when Ghostbusters comes and rips it off or something.
Ghostbusters,
Yeah.
the back room.
And again, just kind of like building on mechanics really well. Like, Phasmophobia, introduced a mechanic of using your voice really well in the game, but kind of breaks immersion a little bit in the fact that you're moving so slowly. And this managed the kind of movement aspect with the vocal aspect, with the puzzle solving and all that stuff. It balanced it really well. And I just think it's so funny that it was born out of a Slender Man, meme.
Yeah, totally. I think it's I would be shocked if anyone else has it on their Game of the Year.
No.
So I'm proud. My 6 may be the first one that I snag someone else's, because I reckon it'll be on yours at some point. Tinykin. Just out of nowhere, total delight, wonderful collectathon, such a cute, positive world to be in. I love the game. I think standalone, the game is fantastic. It feels so good to move around that game. It's not punishing. It constantly rewards you for exploration, but doesn't punish you for not exploring enough. When you need to find something, it signposts it really well, and the puzzle is more, how do I get up there, as opposed to like, where is that thing that I'm looking for? But then also, because I played this with Banjo, it was like one of my favorite gaming experiences of the year as well. Like, it was such a
nice.
cute bonding thing. But yeah, Tinykin is just adored that game.
Amazing. Number 5.
Five.
Through.
Pokemon Scarlet Violet. I'm not going to talk about it. It's Pokemon. I fucking love Pokemon, so
Good.
I'm not going to pretend that I'm going to try and convince you guys that it's a good game. It's number 5.
My number 5, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. I liked all of what this had to offer.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed the campaign, which is more than I can say for a lot of the COD campaigns. I sometimes just put up with them, but I thought this one was quite interesting for a COD campaign. Asterisks. I thought the multiplayer felt great. And it, like any COD, kind of rebooting and restarting again, it wasn't overcomplicated. They hadn't added too much. And then I've harped on enough about DMZ, which was a huge surprise that I wasn't expecting that to be my new favorite jam, which is how I'm now obsessed with extraction shooters, I think is what they've been coined. But it's fantastic. And as a package, that's a lot of game. That's a lot of bang for your buck. And so there's even a co-op mode in there for some weird wave mode stuff, but I think that's very quickly being transplanted.
Is that the Spec Ops mission stuff?
Yeah, sorry, supplanted by the DMZ stuff. So yeah, it's COD. It's so polished. The shooting's so good, and there's a way to play it depending on how I'm feeling when I pick it up. So yeah I really like it. 5, Stephanie.
My number 5 is Warhammer 40k Darktide.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It feels like everything that I feel like Back 4 Blood was trying to do, but better.
Yeah.
In that it's like that thing we were talking about where, zombie hordes and you're overpowered and you're just kind of like mowing through them. Obviously there were difficulty jumps and there was the card system and stuff like that, but it felt a little bit one note in terms of what you were doing gameplay wise, that has stopped me kind of going and returning back to the DLC and stuff that they've been releasing. Whereas this is just like, it's hard. I'm playing one of the harder classes, the Psyker, but it is just so involved and you have to really work together as a team in a very specific way to get through some of the harder encounters. And the management of, like, for me, warp and stamina and my specific ability cooldowns and stuff is a real juggling act depending on what loadout I have. And my brain falls apart every time I try to play that game, but in a way that makes me want to just go back and try again and be better at it. And also, I just have never really been attracted to 40k as a fantasy sci-fi genre. It didn't really do much for me, but this game has introduced me to it in a really cool way, and I think it's just fucking beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah.
Beautifully designed game. The maps are cool.
Yeah.
They're
I watched a
interesting.
little bit of your stream, and you were in focus mode. You were in do not talk to me mode, which is weird because you're on stream. But what I'll add is that like
It's actually a bad game for me to stream.
sure, what I was seeing was very different from what I thought the game was, which was kind of mowing through hordes of zombies with a machine gun, which is one way to probably play it, but you're playing it a completely different way, which is cool.
Yeah.
Like with a character that does that. So
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
It's tough.
Marvel Snap.
Now on Switch.
Is it?
No,
Oh. It will be.
Yeah.
It probably will be.
it probably will be. Yeah, Marvel Snap. Great game. Great game. Really fucking great game. Sneaky good. Shouldn't be this good. A licensed game like this shouldn't be this good. It is everything I kind of want from a card game, including the speed of getting through matches. And I mean, I spoke about it when it was our biggest surprise of the year video, so I don't need to go too much more into it. But it's just one of those games that I am returning to the most, and that is because it's incredibly satisfying, less predatory than many other collectible card games. Great reward cycle, but most importantly, just mechanically just really, really fun and so addictive in a positive way. Just you want to keep playing, not just because there's some thing that you're chasing, just because you go like, what I'm chasing is that
Yeah.
I'm chasing that fucking high.
Yeah. Yeah, like math.
It's like
Yeah.
math.
Yeah, great.
The best.
The
a wholesome
positive.
high.
Yeah.
Yeah. Peter, number 4.
Number 4, I was reminded existed today, and I can't believe I forgot when I was putting this list together. Poinpy.
Oh!
Gotta love that point P.
You gotta love Poinpy.
Best Netflix
By the
game
developers
out
of
there.
best Netflix game out there. By the developers of Downwell. Downwell is a well-loved mobile game, but now we're going up.
Is that you pitching it in the
I'm
meeting
sure that
when
was
you go
them
in?
That was
pitching it.
them.
That's them going.
That
yeah.
was
Imagine
Netflix were like,
Downwell.
we'll give
Gentlemen,
you $10 million
flips
if
the
you can
whiteboard
convince us.
upside down.
Downwell, but up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you sold me.
Totally, yeah. It's great. It's great. It's a perfect mobile game. It has a progression that keeps you hooked for a long enough time. I dropped off it after you go to space.
Yeah.
Spoilers for Poinpy.
You go up that high.
You
get
go
to
real
space.
fucking
Does the
high.
cat follow you?
And then he just keeps coming.
Yeah, good on him.
Yeah, he just keeps coming. So like I did that zone a few times and was like, I'm kind of in the end game. I end gamed Poinpy.
Good.
It's good stuff. If you haven't played it, check it out. Poinpy.
And I would
Poinpy on
also
your mobile
say
phone.
It's got to be name of the year.
Yeah,
To say
yeah,
Poinpy?
yeah.
Point B.
Poinpy,
Like-
great
It rem-
mouthfeel.
It reminds me of Forgetting Sarah Marshall. You know, when Paul
Piopi.
Rudd is like, I'm going to call you Piopi.
Yeah,
It sounds like a word that just came out of someone's mouth spontaneously in the moment.
Yeah.
And we're like,
Probably
that'll do.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How else do you come up with Poinpy?
Number 4 for me, Cult of the Lamb.
Nice.
I know you're going to talk about this, so I won't steal too much of your thunder.
Steal away.
But I loved the duality of games that was in this, in terms of your Animal Crossing versus your
Jennifer Garner.
Dungeon-
Was she in Animal Kingdom?
Nope.
No, she was in a
no.
Fallen Kingdom or something.
She was in
Animal
30.
Hang on.
Let's get back to the
She's in
Jennifer Garner
13
thing.
going on 30.
Yeah,
Yep.
she was.
Happens every fucking time.
Daredevil.
Yeah, she's
Electra.
great in that.
Alias.
Alias, very good.
Stop it. Okay. Dungeon crawler, town builder. Great idea to put those two together. Even better idea to do it with a cult versus just building a civilization. Even better to do it with adorable little creatures that are going through some horrific acts. And I think I probably enjoyed the town building more than the dungeon crawling. I think the reason it's probably a little low down on my list than I would have expected it to be is that I found the moment-to-moment dungeon crawling and combat a little sticky and didn't feel as like addictive as I was hoping it would be. I usually love that kind of thing, Enter the Gungeon, all that sort of just procedural dungeons I love. A little over-designed, we talked about that, and it's a weird criticism, but I just struggled with it. I also played it while I had COVID. So I kind of have this weird fever attachment to a lot of characters
Yeah.
walking around
Negative
vomiting.
association.
And that music, which was
interesting.
amazing design, but kind of nauseating.
Yeah.
The music of the like, wow, wow, wow.
It's
like-
mainly the COVID.
It was
Yeah.
no, that's COVID's fault. But it's why it's probably a little further down than I would have enjoyed. So, but I think an amazing effort.
Do you think it's a Pavlovian response? Now that
Yes.
you hear that sound again, you will just vomit?
I just throw up. Yeah.
We can only hope.
But it's an amazing game and an amazing triumph, and I'm sure a lot of people, including people in this room, have it higher up because it's great. It didn't run great on Switch when it launched, but they patched that, and it plays pretty well on Switch now. That's where my save file is.
I will agree with you that the combat has been better, but I think it was more than good enough, and it was more the balance between the two kinds of systems just flowed so well. As soon as you were done with one, you were ready to do the other. All the personality of the thing, it just felt so polished in every possible way, and I fell in love with this game so hard.
Fell in love with the first 4 to 5 hours,
Yeah,
which is a
right.
lot of hours for a game, but it's not. It definitely hit a point where I went, right now I'm into the rhythm of it, I'm into the busy work of it. And I think when the dungeons got more complex or the boss fights got more complex, the lack of telegraphing and clear direction on when I was hitting and when they were attacking and the extra design that they'd covered that with started to really grate with me.
Yep.
And
I feel like
Yeah.
Cult of the Lamb, Neon White, and Pentiment are three of the most like cohesively stylish games of the year. Would you say that's true?
I would say that is pretty close to being true.
Yep, Neon White is an assault on the eyes.
and that's why it got cut from the list of the games to be looked at.
Yeah,
Pentiment
Which has
Man.
been done.
It's a design choice.
Yep.
Yep.
And I love
the wrong one.
it. Steph, number
4.
4.
Okay, so my number 4, I felt like I had to make this my number 4 because of what I chose as my number 3.
Okay.
So I chose God of War because even though I haven't
Played it.
played enough of it to be like, oh, this is like one of the most amazing games I've played this year, I haven't played many games this year that were released, and it's definitely like that sort of AAA stunning epic action game that I know that I typically love, and I'm sure that I'm going to enjoy this when I play it
When you get around
when I get around to it this holidays.
Yeah, fair enough.
Can't wait to see what your number 3 is.
it.
Such a
God of
tease.
War 1.
My number 4 was my number 3
does
until
that work?
until my number 3 came out.
Became recent.
Yeah, my number 3 came out pretty recently, but my number 4, and I wish it was higher, but I can't do it. Citizen Sleeper. Adore it.
Yeah.
Adore that game. Adore those characters. Adore that world. Best writing of the year.
Yeah, reputable outlets are giving it best writing of the year.
That's what I heard.
Reputable.
Yep.
Handsome.
It is
Handsome
just
outlets.
one oh so handsome. It is just one of those games with characters that will stick with me forever. I actually like the fact that it is so about your imagination. It's so abstracted of just this like ship and the dice that represent, by the end, not even a challenge, just like a thing you have to do, which also becomes a bit of the game of just like, the game is about, we're just trying to survive on this fucking space station. And a lot of what we need to do is just this rote, boring living. And it's not to say that it was boring to play, but by the end of it, it was very much like, all right, I just got to roll these dice and get these numbers and fill out these things to get to my next conversation. And that actually felt thematically appropriate. And yeah, just really special. The DLC that's been coming out, I played the first one, I haven't played the second one yet, that came out about a week and a half ago, and there's a third chapter that's going to close that out. And it's one story that they're telling with this 3-chapter DLC stuff, and it's fascinating. It brings up a whole bunch of more moral, humanity, grey zone questions, and yeah, just really love that game. Recommend it to everybody.
Cool.
Nice.
Peter.
Maybe we should play that over the holidays.
No, you're
Nah.
playing Mario and Rabbids.
We've hit the top 3.
Yep, we've hit the top 3.
We're there.
And what better game to start us off than Pokemon Legends Arceus?
Jesus Christ. 2 Pokemon games.
2 Pokemon games separated by a single point P.
That up until this morning I forgot existed.
Yeah, they were back to back for a period of time. And Arceus I prefer over Scarlet Violet. And we're seeing it now. Just
A visual style that some may say
is
equals. I mean, it's
that
good.
much worse.
that
than
much
Breath
worse
of the
than
Wild.
Yeah, not that much
It's
worse.
not that much worse.
When it came out in February, it showed me the Pokemon could start to try different things in what is still presenting as a mainline game. Obviously, there's been Pokemon Pinball and Pokemon Mystery Dungeon and Pokemon whatever the fuck, everything. But this is a game that presents as a normal Pokemon game that had some different ideas about the core concepts of catching Pokemon and what the world is set up around the idea of Pokemon being this kind of central part of how civilization works. And so I was really inspired by it, and I didn't realize how much I enjoyed it until I played Scarlet Violet, and I've finished Scarlet Violet, and it
Got
just
something else out of that game, but
well, like by the end of that game, I was like, this was just so rote. It was so the same Pokemon game that I've played every time, and you know, there's always quote unquote different characters in it. There's the quirky one, there's the one you're not sure if it's bad or not, and then there's a Team Rocket equivalent, and they're usually good now because they can't have a bad guy in it for some reason. So Team Rocket's Team Star, and they're good.
Rote and Woke.
Rote and Woke.
Yeah, so weird.
But it just, at the end of it, I'm like, I may as well have just been playing any of the other Pokemon games from what I got out of it, except that I got those same hooks again. Whereas this, I'm like, that was cool that I could catch Pokemon without battling them. I could be the hunter without Pokemon.
Yeah.
I could engage with the world as the human, not as the Pokemon battle as the only way
Not
to
as the
engage in.
gameplay first.
Yeah,
And
and it felt more like what the anime is.
Yeah.
You are the kid. You are Ash Ketchum now. You get to go out and be a character in the world, as opposed to being the thing that carries the thing that interacts with the world.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I think I find it that I'm fond of this. Looking back at it,
I know we're talking about this Pokemon game. To talk about the other Pokemon game, does Team Star get worse
what do you mean?
Morally?
morally?
No,
So I find it
It
quite
gets-
weird.
They get better.
And does the world acknowledge that they get better?
Yes.
Okay. Because to me, the messaging, at least Team Rocket were like, oh no, we're trying to take things from you. So there's a little bit of being like, no, you shouldn't let those kids. Whereas Team Star are a bit like over enthusiastic. But then I'm looking at it as a kid going, oh, it's fine to just like pick on people who.
That
just
seems like an
trying
organized
hard.
club.
Yeah.
They shouldn't be punished for being well organized.
It seems weird. It's
Yeah.
just fucking weird.
Yeah. To the short version of the Team Star story is that Team Star kids are the anti-bullies. They were getting bullied, and so they unionized
Yep.
and fought the bullies.
Yep.
And the bullies got expelled from school because they were exposed by Team Star.
Okay.
And now Team Star feel horrible that they unionized and got kids expelled from school. So they're like reeling with their own trauma that they've got all these kids expelled, but they're still just like out on their. So they've left school. They're truanting because they're like, we ruined the
don't
school.
deserve to
We
be
ruined
there."
the academy because we got kids kicked out of school. Even though they were the bullies, they were
They're
getting
the
bullied in the
true-
first place.
They're the true good guys.
They're just all good. They're all good guys.
Amazing.
Wow.
Incredible.
And how
Gus.
wild is it that this came out,
Spoilers for Pokemon
that
Scarlet.
this came out in February,
Okay.
and you're like, this would be one of my favorite games, but we got a whole year ahead of us. End of the year.
Yeah.
I like this one.
I enjoyed it at the time, but now looking back on it, I realized that I was like, oh, I'm really enjoying what
Yeah.
this is doing for Pokemon.
Yeah.
Gus, number 3.
Number 3 for me was a Game Club game that I played on stream with the audience, and that was Horizon Forbidden West.
Holy shit.
I feel like this is similar to what Steph was going on with God of War in terms of this was a AAA, much hyped game, much expectation, that just did so much well, but I wouldn't say anything outstandingly excellent, that as a package and as an experience from Go to Woe, I was always enjoying myself, and I was always finding something that I was appreciating, and kept me coming back to get through the whole game as well. I never played the original Horizon, so this
Oh, yeah.
is my Horizon experience. This is
your
everything here
Horizon.
that was they're doing it again was fresh for me. So I had this is my Overwatch too. So I wasn't getting tired of maybe some of the hunting mechanics and the basic exploration that people had been doing at length in the first game. And this footage isn't doing it justice, but
Burn them all.
I got to experience the wonder of seeing mechanical robots for the first time, and
sentence.
climbing the Stalky Walker things and all that kind of stuff.
Stalky
Yeah.
Walkies. They were called
Stalky
Stalky
Walkies.
Walkies.
The tall necks.
And then on
they're
top of
called,
that,
the tall
like-
necks.
Stalky Walkies.
I think outside of maybe the characters' moment-to-moment dialogue, I didn't mind the broader story, which was trying to bring together all the factions to fight a big bad. Like any big epic story, when you get to the big bad, it's always going to be disappointing and silly.
That game went batshit.
That was almost like a little fun little flick at the end, a little, like, I don't know, bit of flavor right at the end to go, what the fuck? But it beats petering out into a sort of, oh, there was peace on the land. So I loved that it went a bit weird at the end, that the hunting and the combat was, for me, very... It just had so many options. You literally saw a wheel there of weapons. It was overwhelmingly... there were so many options to how you did fight these creatures and what you did.
But great customization and accessibility and stuff. As well.
That was fantastic. And then, visually, I did really feel like this was one of those games that they just went so hard on the environments, on the biomes. The detail there wasn't just there to say, look how good graphics are. It was kind of... It did help you feel like these were realized places, that these were ancient civilizations that were overgrown, and I couldn't stop looking at it. It was like one of those games where I was perpetually watching the streams back.
Yeah.
I was just in awe of everything it was doing, both, as I said, from the leaves on the forest floors to the pores on Aloy's face in photo mode when you zoomed in. It was unbelievably well crafted on a technical level as well. So there was so much in it that I enjoyed, and I think I think it was the best way to do this was to play this game and maybe not the first one, because it was all very new to me, and I won't play the third.
Wow.
Shake on?
Yeah, what a fucking ending to your third
I did a
declarative statement. I won't play another
I did a
one.
Horizon Forbidden West ending. I just right at the end really gave
That
it a what the
was-
fuck? As in, I've had my
Petered
fill
out. You
of that.
gassed out
Yeah.
hard at the end
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything
Did not expect to hear the name for Horizon Forbidden West today.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
me either.
Yeah.
I will not play a third. Stephanie.
Okay, so my number 3 is Assassin's Creed Valhalla Ragnarok expansion.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that's longer than pretty much every game I played this
Oh
year.
my gosh. It's like,
You played it
yeah.
because you didn't need it's standalone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I was like, you didn't play Valhalla that much.
Well,
yeah, okay.
that's the thing. That's part of the beauty of it, I think. Valhalla
Yeah.
was already such an exceptional game in and of itself. But it's like Ubisoft were like, they realized that they have to make such huge games now to sate Assassin's Creed fans that when they want to bring out new content, they were like, what's the percentage of people that have actually finished our game and will get to play this? So they gave you a really cool way to jump ahead and not just play DLC that felt like it was tacked on to the game, but a really unique standalone experience.
Yeah, cool.
And it felt, as much as I love the Assassin's Creed series for the historical elements of it, because it's moved more into open world RPG now, I kind of just want open world RPG, like fun magic stuff. And so this gave us that. It gave you all of the powers that you would unlock to max out from the base game, and then more besides, because you now had this kind of, mythological power as well. The environments were really fun to go through, like compared to the sort of
Blandness of
River-
England.
no, but like the kind of the river-based system that you're moving around, I guess. This felt more, I guess, like mountainous and a bit more mythological. You had these floating islands that you could kind of, in typical Assassin's Creed style, kind of scale and try and get secrets on top of them.
Turn into a bird.
You could turn into a bird. I loved all the different, unlocking all the different, magic abilities and stuff. It just leveled up this game so much that it made it so much more fun. And I feel like it was already an exceptional game to begin with.
I should play this.
It was really cool. And I'm so much more interested in persisting with the game in this form than I am with the original. And I do love the original.
Which is why Assassin's Creed Forever or whatever the fuck it's called, Infinity could help. Because that feels
Yeah.
a little more like this kind of thing where it's like, yeah, we're just going to, here's 20 hours worth of something.
And when you look at the map, you don't get that feeling of like,
Yeah.
oh my god, I can't
I
even
should
think
play
about how
this.
huge it is. Yeah, it's great.
I
It's
love
awesome.
Assassin's Creed. It's just too much.
Yeah.
This isn't too much. This is only 40 hours.
And I keep like a lot of the stuff that I'm doing is all the little side shit because I just it taps into that part of my brain that just wants to find all of the secrets. But all of the secrets are fun, and then you come across these funny little you know, they're very good at environmental storytelling where you come across a tower and then there's these 5 cats and then there's a story about the cats. You see the 5 little bowls. You're like, oh, there's something happened here. You know, there's a lot of that is great.
I remember I played this for Ubisoft with Jess, and there was one side quest where you've got an ability you can bring people back to life. You can bring enemies back to life to fight for you. But there's a quest where you find a dead farmer who's like, I think his wife killed him or something, and you bring him back to life so he can tell you the story. And then he's like, "Now let me die," and he dies. You can bring him back, and he's like, I told you to kill me back. And we just kept taunting him by bringing him back to life, and the dialogue kept going. And I think we took him back inside his house, and he was like, and then he could only live for a few seconds before he clapped him dead again. So it was very silly. And but I think you're right. It does play with some of the more fun aspects because you know, drab historical retellings of the conquering of England is amazing, but the length
It's
of
just
that
so
game,
long.
there's so much of it to do.
It is. It's so much. I think it's hard because like I want to be the person that loves God of War, but at the end of the day, I am this person forever. Like open world. I want a Witcher, you know,
Yeah.
You don't
Norse
want kids?
edition. I don't want kids.
You want to put Geralt in Assassin's Creed?
Yeah.
And then just quickly, you didn't play the run mode version of this. There was an extra expansion on top of this.
Temple thing?
No, it's the one where you played. It wasn't
Lords of the Fallen or something? No, Lords of the Fallen.
Dawn of
Tombs
Ragnarok or something. Or, no, that's
this.
Anyway, there's another mode in this where you play as Odin and you do a dungeon crawler of sorts that's a roguelike that sends you back, which I know you don't love.
Oh
but
no, I haven't played that yet.
It was really, really cool, and you go and fight all these big
go into that,
bosses. You get to Nidhogg and all this kind of stuff. Like, it was really an interesting spin on it.
Yeah,
so,
cool.
yeah, a very strange departure to go 3 levels deep of Assassin's Creed Ragnarok.
But it's kind of what Ubisoft are doing now,
Roguelike.
you know, with what's the other game that you love?
Far Cry, they're doing
Far Cry,
that as
yeah.
well. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Cool.
Cool.
Cool. I will add this to my Persona Cyberpunk Christmas list. My number 3 game of 2022, Case the Golden Idol. Yeah. So this was... This was the game that bumped Citizen Sleeper down. I adore this game so much. It's a Din-like. It's an Obra Dinn
Right.
game. I realize some of my favorite games are games where it's like, you have all the information, just figure it out.
Yep.
Just sit there. You literally, there's nothing more that the game can tell you, and you have read everything, you've seen everything. Your brain just hasn't fired in the way that it needs to, and it's just about
Oh, that's right.
going back, rereading, really trying to puzzle something out.
This is like that redacted game that you play.
Redactyl.
Redactyl.
Like Redactyl. Yeah, a little bit. Really interesting mechanically in terms of collecting the words as the clues, and then those words going to different parts of the sort of like basically your case book of how like, and it was always the story of what happened, the people involved and their names, and then some other stuff depending on the scenario. Like maybe these are the parts of the house that all the people slept in, or this is like, you know, whatever. This is the will that and how the money was being divided up. And it just was so elegant in terms of that gameplay. It ratcheted up really hard. Like, it became a very difficult game, but never insurmountable. It was just like, I'm just not thinking about something, and so I just need to keep thinking about this. And it also managed to tell this narrative, like pulling through all of these cases are connected in some way, and it really builds to a pretty crazy place by the end of like, this is what the world has turned into because of the Golden Idol. And I love the art style. It's so grotesque and like it's this combination of, I think, these beautiful environments with these very grotesque and disturbing looking people in them. I just haven't, aside from Obra Dinn, I just haven't really played a game like this, and just murder mystery puzzle games are just my absolute favorite. And yeah, I just adore this game.
Yeah,
It's
nice.
so good.
I know we've talked about it in previous ones, but I'm going to give this a go over the holidays and see
Yeah.
how far it drags me in, because the fact that, as you said, it just really keeps you going and like, I need to work this out. I'm keen for that feeling in a game.
There's only one puzzle in the game, and it's the 10th one. It's the second last one. That's like a court case where there is a part of that where like I solved what went on, and I solved another part, and then down the bottom it's like, there's a part where you need to fill in numbers, and it was just like, I'm never gonna solve this.
Brute
There's no way. I know what I need to do. My brain will not hold
me
the
to get
information. You could do it, but my brain will not be able to hold. And so that was the one where I just went, Google, what's the fucking answer here? Because this is ridiculous. Yeah, phenomenal. Case of the Golden Idol. Pete, number 2.
Number 2 for me. Come in.
Come in.
Go get it.
We might go from a number 2.
She left. She was very apologetic. How weird to open up a door and just see a bunch of people.
My
on
number
camera,
2!
like, lights, and just be like, oh my god, what have I walked into?
Especially this like very strange room as
Totally.
well.
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like this
yeah.
is not a normal like
No.
Guys,
set.
guys.
Totally.
Yeah, that's
fuck-
what she
Yeah.
sees.
You're number 2.
Yeah, number 2 for me is Pentiment.
Oh.
And again, I had a
That'll be your number 1.
I had a challenging year with games. It was really hard. But things that I expected to love and things that I had highly anticipated just didn't hit. And it didn't take long for Pentiment to charm the pants off me. I was nude within 90 minutes.
Amazing.
The pants were gone in an hour.
Yep.
Nude in 90.
Nude in
And
90.
then
And big finger.
yeah. I still haven't finished it yet, and it could take the number 1 spot once I'm done. But it continues to intrigue deep into the second big act, and I love the character and I love the world, and I just love talking to everyone, and I love the pressures that it puts on you that you can't talk to everyone, and you have your favorites, and maybe the favorites aren't the right people to talk to in that moment. The way that the town remembers you, and that you fall in love with the town and see it grow as you pass through time between acts as well. Like, it's just so cohesive. There's something about it that is so real, and that's what. It's hard for me to not think of it as a thing that has happened.
I think that part of it could be that most of the time in games, we don't witness the passage of time. Most games are set in a time period and everyone stays the same, wears the same clothes, it's static in time.
Yeah.
Like, this is a game where literally the first character you meet that isn't you is a child
Yeah.
who runs upstairs and starts talking to you. And then later on in the game, that child is older.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, I don't really see the representation of growth and change in a video
Yeah.
game.
Definitely not in Plague Tale Requiem.
Definitely. Like
Yeah, totally.
And-
but within one game as well, yeah.
You're right, and that's like the grand act scale, but also time is the pressure mechanic of everything.
What
Like,
decision carries forward.
people are in different. The villagers are in a different place between the morning and the afternoon.
Yeah.
And you've lost your morning opportunity to interact with someone. So it's like it is a puzzle of conversation and a pressure of what you perceive to be the most important conversations to be having based on the problem at hand. So it's
But that's quite freeing, knowing that it is always moving forward. That you are not going to go, back to a
Correct.
save
Yeah.
and save scum your way through it. It's like,
Totally.
these are the repercussions I'm going to live with.
yeah,
He's going to call me a piece of shit, and I'm going to have to live with that.
Martin, man. Fucking
Also,
Martin.
I am not a theological scholar, but it's very respectful of its time period as well, in a way that most video games kind of like hodgepodge together a bunch of shit from that era and just go, all right, yeah, it was probably pretty shit living back there. Whereas here, you know, he runs up to her later and he's like, hey, I love your rye bread. And she's like, you cheeky bugger, fuck
Yeah.
off. And it's like, yeah, this feels like real people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's something magical about it to me, and I
You're right. The little conversations
love it.
around the bigger, more important thematic conversations are just as important because they
Because
fill
it
up
feels
that
like
world.
real people living
Yeah.
in a town and not caricatures of the time period who
Yeah,
are like,
yeah,
who are
yeah.
It's
like
not Fable.
swimming in their own filth.
Yeah.
And like, oh, God, blimey.
Or who are there to get
Yeah.
3 points across to you that will further the narrative.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
great. It's
Yeah.
great. Excellent choice.
Very good game.
Gus, number 2.
My number 2, you mentioned it earlier, is Tinykin, a game that I feel like I discovered
You basically developed
I
it.
think I made this game. No,
He liked Tinykin before it was cool.
Thank you, Steph. Well, no, one of the things that I did notice is that it popped up on the Switch store before I noticed it coming to Game Pass. And when I looked at it, I thought, this looks amazing. But then I looked at the screenshots on the Switch store and thought, I hadn't heard anything about this. I hadn't seen any build-up or any hype. And so I looked at the screenshots, and with a lot of those like Switch shovelware, I thought, no way this is going to feel good to play. This is just like someone found a cute little art style and they've made a really janky game. And the second I got into it and started playing it, I was like, every part of this game just felt satisfying on a very sort of tactile and sort of moment to moment Moorish level. And I loved that about it. And so therefore it was a big surprise and you know, on me for second guessing the developer, thinking what this game was, because it defied my expectations and gave me such a joyous experience this year.
I think it also, like, I hate the way it looks.
Okay. Well, moving on.
Was there more to that point, or you just?
Yeah.
I think it also just I hate the way it looks.
Well, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like to look at it, it doesn't look like the kind of game that is going to be in your top 3. I feel like stylistically, I don't know. And from an art, for people that tend to gravitate towards super stylish games, I don't know. I think
there's something. I mean, yeah, there are two art styles here combined, which is that sort of cell
Which you often
shaded.
you do react.
You're right. Sometimes I don't love that. There is that little Sesame Street guy on the glass.
Yeah.
Little guy runs around the kitchen cabinet.
Totally.
Mixed with a 3D blocky rendered, quite simple, basic world. Which, look, you're right. Maybe at first glance you might think, as I did with the screenshots, like, I don't know what this game is going to feel like in movement. But the movement and the objectives and the way it leads you around the world, you very quickly stop looking at that and you start feeling the way the game is meant to be sort of
totally.
making you feel like you're in a cartoon or
Yeah, I think that's it. I think, like, because I don't disagree, Steph. I don't think it's a great looking game, but the areas are so well designed that it becomes background noise. Like, we're looking at detail now but while you're playing it, you're not looking at detail. You're like, I'm in a bedroom and there's a massive pot plant that I'm going to climb. That
totally.
feels nice, whether it looks great.
It
or
also-
not.
But
it
I guess what I'm saying is that in terms of what your expectations of what the game is going to be, it doesn't give you a
Well,
lot.
it turns out that is one of the things that helps the game direct you around the world, because everything that is a block 3D render with a basic shader isn't really interactive, but everything that is this 2D,
Right.
much sharper, much
Help
crisper,
signpost the stuff you can
is
interact
something
with.
you can interact with, be
Yeah.
it the collectibles, be it the Tinykin themselves. So you can kind of squint at the world and know which bits of it you are needing to go towards and which bits are literal window dressing.
Yeah.
And so that actually helps. And once you start playing, you very quickly fall into a sort of a way of looking at the game and interacting with it.
Yeah,
And
smart.
the last thing I'll say is that I really have to give it extra props as well for making the genre of collecting an army of little characters that do your bidding fun in the way that Pikmin never was able to for me. Pikmin is a series I should love. I've never really gelled with it. I've liked looking at it. I've liked the noises they make, but playing it, I've never found it a gratifying and fun mechanic. It was always quite laborious.
It reminds me of, what was the game? Kona Bridge of Spirits?
Yep.
Cannon Bridges.
Where where it had some of the Pikmin style things. Where those games fall down is it should be effortless to interact, because basically this character is a superhero. Like what they are, what the Tinykin are superhero abilities, and the genius of it is that it's like, some of them you can do anywhere, like the green ones all stack and you can climb on them. But some of them you can't do anywhere, because it's like, no, this is where this interacts. Building a bridge, you can only build a bridge here. So it basically just knew wherever your cursor was pointed, it would just auto go, I know what you want to do.
Which of the
scenario.
Tinykins I'm throwing
This
at
is
this.
what you
Yep.
need to, and you never, you literally cannot select which one, except for the fact that you just point at the thing that you want to do, and the game goes, I know what you're thinking, I'll put the Tinykin there.
You run through and pop them, and they all just sort of scamper
It's
into a little
brilliant.
army
Like,
around
so-
you. You never have to be like,
whistling to just bring them all back in a heartbeat.
yeah,
like,
from the
it's
other side of the map.
Totally,
It's like,
yeah, it's effortless.
Yeah.
The whole game is about how can you get in a flow state moving around this area?
And
Yeah.
so again, sympathy for Pikmin 4 when it comes out because it's got big boots to
Big
fill.
time.
Tiny boots.
Maybe it'll get delayed and they'll try and borrow some mechanics. from
Maybe
this.
they will.
hopefully.
It's very good.
Steph, your number 2 game.
And pull your mic in because you're kneeing it out.
Sorry. I get uncomfortable after sitting for long periods, so I have to try and find new
We did
ways
this all
to
day
sit.
yesterday.
Yeah.
I can't feel my butt.
My my number 2 game is Destiny 2: The Witch Queen. Loved it. I think the big thing for this is that I started playing Destiny 2 like 3 or so months before Beyond Light, the first expansion. And at that time, I was so new to Destiny, I didn't really understand what was happening.
The big expansion. Because there were heaps of expansions.
before that.
Like the Moon one and all that bullshit. But
Sorry.
it was the relaunch of
relaunch,
Destiny 2,
yeah.
basically, yeah.
But the first expansion that I'd played.
Well, yeah, Beyond Light was just a relaunch of Destiny 2, though. Like,
Sorry, you said the first expansion. And
Yeah,
we
it wasn't
all
the
thought you
first
meant
expansion
The first
of-
Destiny 2 expansion, and it was like the 6th or something.
yeah,
Yes, I'm saying the first Destiny 2 expansion that I played
sure.
Yeah.
was Beyond Light.
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
yeah.
And that had just come out.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
And at that time, I didn't know much about the world of Destiny. So playing through that campaign, I was kind of still figuring things out. Whereas, like, a year and a bit later, playing The Witch Queen, it was like playing with completely new eyes.
You're an old hand.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. And it was just everything about the aesthetic of the environments we were moving through were incredible. When we encountered the Lightbringers, it was like legitimately terrifying. We played it on Legendary and it was just this like perfect amount of challenge for me. I loved all the new guns as I was getting them. Everything about it was just such a joy. And I was playing it with you and Reese and it felt like I was enjoying it so much that I honestly didn't want it to end, which is why I feel like I kept stopping and being like, I'm just going to go get a snack or I'm just going to go get a drink. Oh, let's just like stretch for a bit. I just kind of, I wanted to like prolong the process as long as possible. So that people had like finished the campaign hours before and we were still going because I was like, I don't want this to be over. And it was so fun. And I've since played through it with other friends as well, the campaign. And I haven't played through Beyond Light more than once because it didn't, grab me in the same way. But this was just so fucking cool. It was just every encounter we went through, it was a new stunning area. I follow this artist on Instagram who did all the art for this because I think it's just stunning. The color palette, the light. It was just such a great culmination of everything that I love about Destiny. And it makes me so excited for Lightbringer because
And
I
a
think
world
they're,
that, like-
they're on such an upward trajectory right
A
now.
world
Totally.
that was distinctly dark, moody, green, mossy, gross, and could be very dull.
Yeah.
They managed to make look so majestic and so epic in the way that had you staring at vistas. It's like it says a
Yeah.
lot about the art and the design that they
Destiny-
can make a swamp level fun.
Destiny does scale really well. Like you
Yeah.
always feel small in
Yep.
enormous like vacuums of space or huge planets or chasms into the earth and stuff. But what I think was also particularly great about the environmental design was that this was like Savathun's throne world. And it was an organic kind of oppressive castle environment that also felt vaguely quite feminine in a strange way. Like there were like these beautiful like cabbage flowers and there were a lot of kind of soft kind of pastel colors kind of woven in through a lot of the architecture despite being really aggressive and pointy.
So interesting.
It was
I didn't think
just,
about that.
I
You're
just
so
loved it.
right.
Yeah, it was awesome.
It would have been easier to go the other way and just be like, it's
Yeah.
bubbling green
Blood.
swamps and blood
Yeah,
and
yeah,
spikes. And
yeah.
you're like,
No,
"Oh,
I
it's
just
got
love it. I think
thought."
there's just so much to it that is incredible, and for a live service game like this to continue to be like creating such consistently awesome content is just it's a great time to be a Destiny fan.
I would say Volta Glass as well as a raid is the best raid that they've released. They're just getting better and better at raid mechanics.
Yeah,
Good. Yeah, I loved that.
I disagree, but yes.
What raid would you say is the best?
I think I love Deepstone still. I think in terms of the mechanics, I really enjoy, and
Yeah.
I think King's Fall I also like, but even though it's a little bit simpler.
Yeah,
And Vow of the Disciple is very cool. Vault of Glass, I don't know, I don't like it.
not Vault of Glass.
You
That's
said
what
Did
you
I say
said.
Vault of
You
Glass?
said Vault
Vault
of Glass.
sucks. Sorry. The one that came with this one.
Val the Disciple?
Yeah, that one.
Oh, yeah.
This is the best
Yeah,
one.
I was thinking
Excellent,
Boulder Glass.
Boulder
didn't
Glass
come with
sucks.
this. Yeah,
Boulder
yeah,
Glass is
yeah.
shit.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Val the Disciple.
Val the Disciple is excellent. Yes, agreed.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
very well
Thank
done.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I won't play.
Mine-
I won't play the third.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
Wouldn't vote for
My number 2 game is one that Gus already spoke about, and that is Cult of the Lamb. Yeah, I don't really have too much more to say about it. I think you said everything that I enjoyed about it, and then I said a little bit more about what I enjoyed specifically. But I just
I'm gonna throw up.
loved this. I loved the experience of playing this. There's also a small bit of, and I was as surprised as anybody, national pride.
Yeah.
Oh.
The idea that this is an Australian team that made this, and this is real. You know, this
It
game
was on the
popped.
project.
It was on the project.
There you
ladies
go.
and and this game just popped off worldwide. Like everyone was playing it, and I just I love the style. I love the vibe. I want a cult, so this is very aspirational for me. It's the gameplay I loved. I disagree. For me, the game got better as I went as my town ticked more, and it became more about upkeep of this town as opposed to like scrounging for enough to buy a bed. It would be like, I get a new cult member and I'm like, yeah, not only will I give you a fucking sleeping bag on the ground, I'll build you a little hut. Like, that's fine. I got the resources. It's all good, baby. And I got really disappointed when I knew I was coming up to the final boss, and I was just like, oh, damn it.
My
this is
town felt
coming
like
to an end.
it hit critical mass though at one point. There were so many people around the statue and so many
Yeah.
turds in the tents
I
that I had to
loved
clean
that.
up. And it felt like, okay, right. I think my sort of, not OCD, but I wanted everything neat and where I wanted to run a clean cult, Nick. I didn't need the chaos.
I totally get that. For
Yeah.
me, and I think we spoke about it when we were talking about the game on the show. I think one of the genius things about it was that it kept the whole town as just one screen.
Yeah,
and not
that's
this
right.
wandering around between an island
Oh,
of
I hate that.
Animal Crossing and going in and out of houses with load screens. It was
As
just
someone
like,
who gets lost and disorientated easily, I hate that.
and something I really hate with these games is when it's like, okay, you've got this big space. Where do you want to put the houses? And it's like, okay.
I need to think about where I'm going to
If
need
I
space.
set them here, like, what's that going to do to this area over here?
Yeah.
And whereas when you just see it like this and you basically go, okay, it's just a grid. I'll just put the houses there. And then I started decorating, and I never do. Like, what you loved in, what
Valheim?
something,
Love
something
in
that you'll
games.
talk
Valheim.
about later. Valheim. What you love in Valheim with all the decorating and all of the like. I never get into that in video games, and instead it was something that I really loved about this. So I just smitten with this game.
Smote.
Smoten.
It's
I think we should break with tradition and
Yeah.
go with Steph.
Yeah, me too.
Because the three of us have not mentioned something that I think that you should go first.
Yeah,
For
sure.
your number one game.
Fair. My number one game for this year was V Rising, which I know is strange for a lot of people, but it honestly, when I think back on the year, it's the one that kind of stands out the most, aside from Destiny, but Destiny almost doesn't count because it's just a live service game and they're always going to bring animes and stuff. But
That's why it's your number 2 game.
That's my number 2 game. But V Rising was just like such a cool culmination of a lot of these kinds of games that I like in a style that was quite unexpected. It looks like Diablo but plays like Valheim, and it was just so freaking stylish. I loved going out and seeking out different bosses in different biomes kind of around the world to be able to get the skills that I needed to mine the stuff that I could make my epic house. And this really, for me, captured something that I feel like I've seen people love about The Sims. And I've never enjoyed The Sims because I don't think I like just building houses in an urban environment for no reason. And none of the gameplay of The Sims ever appealed to me at all. But this gave me all of the joy of an action RPG with my friends, and then the like meticulously aesthetic building structure that was just so addictive and so much fun. Like, I became obsessed with making sure I had the right curtains that would make this whole thing. I placed that table by the window because I liked the way the light hit the little astrolabe and
I thought it was a mirror. I was like, why has he got a mirror? He's a vampire.
no, and like I had to work hard to get that particular style of
Yeah.
window. But they did a really great
This
thing,
is
which
your place, right?
yes, this is my
Steph's
place.
cribs.
That's my cribs. That's my cribs. But they did, and I was constantly rearranging things to try and find the best sort of flow. But they did that thing that you actually pointed out, which I didn't even realize while I was playing it because I'm so drawn towards this kind of stuff anyway. But if you're the kind of person who does just want to play this for the game and you don't really want to build a house that looks good, they deliberately built into the game that, if you put this type of flooring down in this room, then you'll get a bonus to your crafting. So it started to encourage you to make aesthetic
This
choices.
machine
Oh, I
has to
see.
be in its own room to
So you then make
reach
that
peak
the
efficiency.
bleeding
Yeah.
room or something.
You
and it's
accidentally
like,
make
you've
a
made a
house.
kitchen or you've
Yeah.
made
Yeah. And so you
Interesting.
kind of, without
Really smart.
realizing it, you kind of get funneled into making really stylish looking stuff. And then
That's
I
cool.
think in turn that encourages you to want to make everything else look better.
I think once you start on the path, then
Yes.
it becomes much easier to go, well, I could just throw down a rug.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just so cool and so stylish, and I just loved everything about it. And I think also playing with my friends, we each had our own little things that we loved. Shark really loves anything to do with farming, so we had this spectacular garden outside the window that was just constantly growing and evolving. And I had this like horse farm where we would put all of our horses that I was like, guys, I know that we want to go and fight this boss, but we all need to go out and get a bunch of water to make sure that our horses don't die because this is important to me. And everyone would be like, yeah, got it. And then Reese had his stone cutting room because he loves his rocks. And so we had all the jewel crafting stuff for him, and we'd constantly be collecting all the rare gems and stuff that we could, craft into things. It was just awesome.
And not the same, but we did similar vibes to Cult of the Lamb having two play styles. You are nesting and creating a home, and then you're going out for more action-orientated stuff
That's a really good point.
to then
Really great
resource
balance.
and
Yeah.
bring back in, and then bounce back and forth
That's
when
very
you're
funny.
feeling.
They're the same game.
Yeah.
They're just very different games.
But I think maybe we're like Valheim is at a point now where I'm very reliant on mods to get enjoyment out of it. I think because there is a lot to that world that is so survival focused that it's hampering my food hall
Yes.
aesthetic evolution.
Yeah.
Whereas
Stop
this,
eating the food in the
You're
food
eating
hall.
sausages on the table.
yeah. Whereas this, I think, struck that balance really well of like it was still you still might die in another area and then you'd have to kind of go back and get your stuff and it was difficult.
You're a vampire, so there's time to build a study. There's
yeah,
all the
yeah.
time in the world.
But traversing the world with the sunlight, obviously,
Yeah.
mechanic was really fun and added this extra danger to every outing that was great as well. It had the perfect balance for me. I just loved it. I thought it was great, and I'm definitely gonna be playing more of it over the break.
I'll also say you took us on a couple of tours of things that you've built in video games, and like when I see the Valheim thing and a couple of others, I'm always super impressed, like massively. But I'm also kind of always aware, this is like you sort of built this, like this is
you had to motivate yourselves to want to like making that versus here it's a gameplay.
no,
Oh, okay.
that like they always look like something that someone has built. This looks like a level in a video game that you managed to put together a real house. Like this is
The
genuinely
snap
like,
two in this is like
Well, yeah.
this,
Right,
like
yeah,
in
yeah.
a great way. I look at this and I'm like, this could be. You could have made a vampire game and made this a level in the vampire game, and
Yeah.
I wouldn't have blinked an eye thinking that this was not. And that's a testament to like the tool set of making everything look fucking fantastic.
Well, I think also they realized that like every single item from the most basic wall has the most incredible amount of over detail
Yes,
in it.
yeah.
And I think they realized that like you are badass vampires, you're not starting in rags.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're not starting and then having to work your way up
Even
to get
your basic
to
bitch
get,
castle is
even
the
your
same.
most basic bitch castle
Yeah.
is like pimped to the nines.
Yeah.
But there's always somewhere to go from
Yeah,
there as well.
It's always
still.
more gold leaf.
Totally.
Good. V Rising, Steph's #1 game.
Lovely.
nice, cool
All right,
pick.
boys, who wants to go?
It's Elden Ring.
It's Elden Ring.
Of course, Elden
We
Ring.
picked Elden Ring.
Let's all pick a thing to talk about it. I haven't finished it.
Have you finished it?
So,
I think I'm the only one that's finished
Technically,
it.
no.
Yeah,
you're
right.
I'm at the
boss.
final boss fight,
Yeah.
and I haven't played it since we spoke about it.
Yeah.
Because you don't want it to end?
A little bit.
It's also very hard.
It's the last boss fight is hard,
Yeah, the last
but like
one
I
is
also
really
know
short.
that if I picked it up now, it would probably take me 40 minutes to get back into the
Relearn.
rhythm,
Warm up,
but then
yeah.
probably 20 minutes to beat the boss. Because
Yeah.
I've enough times passed that I'm like, oh no, I've gotten over the like frustration thing. I'll get in my flow. But that's all I have to do. I did everything else. this game is a staggering work of heartbreaking genius. It's a heartbreaking work of staggering genius. It's I really, as I've grown older, I've become more and more frustrated with open world games, and this is the most open world of open world games. It's open worlds on open worlds, and I could not get enough. I could not stop exploring. I could not stop engaging with everything this game had to offer. I actually cannot believe that the game exists. And
It's
a team
unfathomable.
of people made it.
Yeah, for me, like, I love the Souls games, and I love other From games like Sekiro in particular. This I had frustrations with because it's so big and there's repetitions in boss fights and that kind of stuff. But despite the frustrations that I was feeling while I was playing, I was still like too weak to not look around the next corner.
Yeah.
I was, even when I was like, oh, it's just going to be another one of the same, like, Dragon Knight dudes.
Or
and-
those the little catacombs that are all kind of
Yeah,
the same.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's part of that design.
They're all the same, but what if?
Yeah.
And they're all, and I would say most of the time it was just the same thing.
And you get to the bottom and go, there's a boss that's entirely invisible. What the fuck?
yeah.
Why is this
Yeah.
a thing?
Yeah, but I never didn't go and do
Yeah.
the thing because it's so mechanically fun and it's just even fighting two of the same guy instead of one of the same guy makes it a completely different fight. So, Souls, man.
Yeah. I think it's wonderful that the From Software legacy has this now in their catalog of, like, you could say that Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3 are evolutions on that style of game. They've taken departures with Bloodborne and Sekiro, but to do something this bold, which isn't just a different setting and a different lore, it is changing it up and just, I don't want to say stretching because that would imply that there's padding, but just going so much further than I think we all expected in terms of scale and in terms of how much there is here in the density of what is in this world. I love that that is now something that sits alongside those other games. I agree with your frustrations in terms of some of the repetition. And for me, one of the things I never loved about a From Software game was the urge to sometimes rush through an area to get to a bonfire, to see things I knew I couldn't fight then.
Yeah.
And there was a lot more of that in this game because of how big, much larger it is in scale. I very often would go...
And the fast travel. And
And the fast travel and the open worldness of it, where you weren't like, it wasn't running a gauntlet to get there. It was skirting the gauntlet to get there.
I was doing a lot more of that in my playthrough thus far versus Dark Souls would often say, there's a few bosses here that are semi-optional, but you're going to hit a wall and you're going to have to get through that wall, implying that you need to grind around here to get through that wall. Having so many more options on the open scale, open worldness did mean that I spent a lot longer going, oh, that's frustrating. Meant that I spent a lot longer going, oh no, oh no, oh no. And I'm like, I've gone too deep. I don't know why I'm all the way here. I've just been running away from things continually.
Yeah.
Probably not the best way to play the game, but yeah, that happened more than I wanted.
interesting. I never really found that. I found the one time, which was the first stumbling block for everybody, which was Mug Eat. And you sort of come up against that and you go, well, clearly I'm not ready to fight this thing. And then you go off and then you realize there's a whole bottom of the map that you had no idea was there. And by the time 15 hours has gone by and you've cleared out the bottom of the map, you come up to Mug Eat and you're too hidden. And it's like, oh, I kind of just, you just forced me to go look somewhere else. And I actually think that's the genius of it, is going, it just like hard skill checks you and goes, nah, you shouldn't be here. Go look somewhere else. And then you go look somewhere else and you go, oh, this is where I should be. And you start just, and to your point about the way that Souls games operate, I think it's, now it makes sense because we've played it. But before I was like, Souls games are puzzle games in so many ways. Like the levels are, this dude is always going to be here and this corner is always going to be like this and you are going to walk through this and you're going to need to engage in X, Y, and the idea of just being like, you can come at this from theoretically any direction. You can engage in different ways. You can start picking people off or what. Like, how does that work? Does that destroy the magic that is the Souls game, that is actually about the idea that you're going to get ambushed when you go around this corner, and part of that is knowing and remembering? And here, everything has there's so much more possibility space.
You could be fighting on horseback. You could be
yeah,
sword and boarding.
and
you could
it just
magic,
turned out to be like, oh no, this is
it works.
even
yeah.
better.
Yeah. I like the things that I think I would love a game that was 30% smaller than this.
Yes.
I do really like it, but I think it just was too long in the tooth. But it's still so captivating, and I love the heavier focus on summoning in this. I still think there's areas in this game that are unlike anything else we've seen in Souls, and that capture your breath, like take your breath away when you
Especially
first
when we've
encounter them,
experienced so many of the designed spaces from
Yeah.
and you go, they've done castles on hilltops, they've done swamps, and then we take an elevator down to a subterranean sort of
Oh yeah.
yeah.
And you're like,
oasis
there's a whole
with stars
fucking
in the cave
other
roof, and you go, fuck,
map
this
here
is
as well.
yeah, this is insane.
And there's all these different ways to get to that place now.
Yeah.
And it's not just that lift. And now all of a sudden you're like, oh, I thought it was just this part, and now it's this
Yeah.
part and this part. You're right. There is arguably too much of the game, but I don't think any particular part felt like filler. It just felt like you put so much in here.
Yeah.
Like it all felt of a quality to
Yes,
me,
yeah.
that I just go, you could have chopped it in half. But give me any part of the whole,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it was still
Yeah.
like any combination of these levels and worlds.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
What is really interesting to me is that there's going to be an Elden Ring 2. And it's like, what is that going to be? Like, this is one of the biggest video games of the last 10 years. Like, what is...
It's in space.
Could be in space.
Could be in space.
Yeah. Phenomenal game.
Yeah.
And we're pretty sure it's going to across the board once all the end of year things come out. Like, everyone made their mind up in February when this came out.
Yeah.
They're like, it is
Yeah.
It will
Yeah.
break the
It's
early year curse.
It's hard to
Yeah,
it's
it could
hard
be.
to argue against it, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only thing is the recency bias for God of War, but because it's God of War's 10s across the board as
Yeah.
well, really
That's
from
true, yeah.
critics. But
But any day of the week. Like, it's not even
Yeah.
the same
It's n-
sport they're playing. Like, yeah. It's
in my
just-
mind,
It's ridiculous. Okay, so those are our personal favorite 10 top 10 games of the year. We've also got Ben and Will's lists, which I'll go through here. I'll go through Will's first. So 10, Gran Turismo 7.
I think Will's going to bring up the list if you give him a beat as well, because
Oh,
we
give
can have them on screen.
Yeah, why not?
Okay,
Why
yeah.
not? Let's go
Yeah.
through them and judge them because they're not here.
Oh, okay, that's good.
Yeah.
No, let's not do that.
There we go.
There we go.
So Will, 10, Gran Turismo 7, 9, God of War Ragnarok, 8, Somerville, 7, Tiny King, 6, Sifu, 5, Memoir Blue, 4, Midnight Fight Express,
Hey.
and he's written a little blurb for the top 3. Hindsight is number 3. This year's Before Your Eyes for Will, a gorgeous journey into memory. It's a sad one though. It's from Annapurna. They only do sad and introspective, or they only do games that are sad and introspective, or cards that are guns. It's true.
Or incest.
Or incest. Oh yeah. Right.
Sometimes
Oh,
incest,
yeah, sometimes
sometimes
incest,
iconic.
sometimes always.
Number 2 is Rollerdrome. It instantly clicked with my gamer brain, especially on the
love that.
PS5 with haptics and reactive sound. Super fun, super snappy, nothing to pick apart. And Will's number 1 game of the year, Point B.
Point B.
Point
In a
B.
year of games that made me rethink owning all the consoles, it was nice to be consumed by something that didn't need one. You go to space? Question mark. He added at the end after Pete's reveal.
Keep on jumping, buddy. You'll get there.
You'll get there. Up Will.
Up well. Up well. Up well.
Up well.
And then Ben's top 10. Number 10, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge.
Was good.
Number 9, Cult of the Lamb. Number 8, Tunic, which
We also
I would have thought
a bit.
would have been on yours at the
I
beginning of the year when.
Thought about it at the
Yeah.
beginning of the year. Yeah,
Yeah.
never really started.
Vampire Survivors is number 6. Number 5, Neon White. Number 6, Neon White. Number 5, Destiny 2, The Witch Queen. Number 4, Citizen Sleeper. Number 3, Immortality, a game that none of us have played. There is a very little I can say without spoiling this game. It's on Game Pass, and you can play it in one sitting if you want. As my first foray into a Sam Barlow game, this is unsettling in all the best ways. A great
Cool.
homage to multiple eras of film, and a weird existential adventure I won't soon forget.
Oh, great.
Soon
Great
forgot.
sell.
Great
Great
sell.
sell.
Very good.
Sold.
Number 2, God of War Ragnarok. It iterated on one of my top 5 games of all time and somehow made a better version of it, and its writing is nearly unparalleled on both a macro and micro level.
Interesting.
Yes, it's definitely more of the same, but when those building blocks were already so strong, I'm not mad about it.
Don't be mad about
Don't be
it.
mad about it.
God of War wouldn't be mad about it. Actually,
Yeah.
that's all he'd be.
He's
Yeah,
pretty
yeah.
mad most of the time
Yeah,
about
that's
things.
true.
Just play Elden Ring. And number 1, Marvel Snap.
He loves. What's his power level?
So, my power level in Marvel
Ben.
Snap, and I love
Ben,
Marvel
Ben,
Snap,
Ben.
is like 900.
Hmm.
Ben's collection level, 3,239. It's ridiculous.
That's a lot of snap.
A game that's finally pulled me away from the clutch of Hearthstone successfully and did it with a bang. Perfect game length, brilliant translation of characters as someone deeply into Marvel Comics, and the best collection system going around in card games once they got rid of Nexus events. Lol. Preach it, brother! So those are the boys' top 10 list as well.
Yeah. Nice.
There you go.
Lots of lists.
We did it! There's only one more list to go, which we need to make now.
Yeah.
Ding,
really
ding.
quickly.
Really quickly. Let us know in the comments your top 10 games of the year, or your top 5, or your top however many games you want to list. We want to know what you love playing this year, because you've been playing alongside us. So share with us in the community what you love playing, and we'll see you in the final video for 2022, which is Back Pocket Collective Game of the Year.